Hey, it's JVo here. Just
Hey,
just giving you a taste of how video usually
camera.
goes at West Winds.
Yeah.
This is how it goes. Hi, I'm John Voles. And I'm Dave McDonald.
I am Dave
Except it's
McDonald.
usually the other way.
Whatever.
There we go. Here we are. We're in Austin.
Texas.
We're at Austin, Texas at the Q Conference.
That's right. Conference for Culture, Future, Church, and Gospel. Those are the 4 quadrants of this.
It's supposed to be kind of an idea machine. My favorite part today, actually, I think, was Alan Hirsch, which I've heard Alan Hirsch speak before. I've read his books. I think he's great. But he talked about this concept of how he may have done the church world a disservice by talking about the attractional church maybe being a bad thing. And he says it's not bad at all. The attractional church actually works. It's just not working to the degree that the church could be working to when it comes to missionality.
Yeah.
And so he talked about these deep levels of mission. And
and by attractional church, we mean churches that people sometimes refer to as being a little too performance-oriented, a little bit too much of a show, a little bit too much of a spectacle.
Or just the come and see. Just the come and see mentality. Like everything that's cool happens if you come to us. We're not actually doing it. But he says that's not all entirely bad. But what really ends up happening, and he said he wish he coined this term as well, because he thinks that he coined the term attractional church, and he probably did.
He probably did.
But he said the bigger problem is that we have started an extractional model of ministry, where we go and we find these guys and we're actually pulling them out of their respective cultures where they can actually make a difference, and we're indoctrinating them and making them like us. We're creating clones, which is great because we're reaching them with the gospel, but we're reaching them one person at a time, as opposed to getting out into communities and having an effect. And
we're really not making missionaries. We're making drones. So, like,
I'm
for
going to turn
example,
that little bleep off because that was my Twitter feed.
The example would be like if somebody comes to faith in Jesus and they work at a secular job and have secular friends, or let's say they go and play baseball with their friends from work. As soon as they get saved, they quit their work baseball team and play on their church baseball team. And instead of hanging out with their friends from work on Tuesday nights or Saturday nights, they hang out with only their church friends on Tuesday nights and Saturday nights. Right. So then they never have any opportunity to lead anyone else into faith in Jesus, and they just become like they've been assimilated, like the Borg, instead of really making a difference.
Right. So Alan Hirsch, you can follow him on Twitter at Alan, ALAN, Hirsch, HIRSCH.
I really liked. I thought Andy Crouch was great.
He's always great.
He is good.
Third year here.
Yeah, he was good. I liked. There was a guy there from the Two Futures Project who talked about the problem of atomic weapons and how a big part of the missional component of the gospel would be to see the end of atomic weapons worldwide.
Tyler Wiggs Stevenson?
That was him. Anyway, he was great. I thought he was fantastic, and that was something totally not on the radar. Now, Q is great, fantastic event. Boy, they've done a great job of pulling people together with a sizable budget. There's maybe 500-600 church leaders and thought leaders from different areas that are together. But some things about the conference always sort of sit funny with me. For example, I'm not a big fan of the way they prescribe interactions in the conference. It feels to me sometimes like the conference is a little bit top-down, a little bit, as our friend has said, more of a monologue than a dialogue, where they say, hey, we're all coming together, we're here to learn from each other, but you can only learn from each other in these ways, in these forums, in these venues. So it feels sometimes a little controlling and a little bit like there's a lot of rules, and that feels funny, particularly in a Web 2.0 world.
Right. Now, we want to be cautious because I love Gabe, love Jeff, everything that they're doing with this. I love that somebody's doing something, and they have a great idea with what they're doing with this. But it feels a little weird, and I want to give them some room to try some different things, and I certainly don't want to poke holes in it, but it feels a little bit weird that they have put the kibosh on all communication with the outside world. Now, of course, they have reasons for doing this. They want us to be focused. They want all of our attention on the speakers and those kinds of things. But for those of us who have grown up with, or at least have been saturated in and by that culture, there are some big wins for being able to communicate via live blogging, via Twitter, via text messaging, those kinds of things. And yeah, that's been stripped away. So I don't know quite how I feel about that.
John's afraid I'm going to throw those guys under the bus in our little YouTube video here, and of course I'm not going to do that. Don't worry, honey. Don't worry, honey. I'm on my best behavior. But I will say that one of the things that they said, the reason for they want everyone to kind of be unplugged at this event is so that people can be fully present with the speakers. But that's a good example to me of something that feels prescriptive. For example, if I want to be totally available and open to God, that doesn't happen for me at a conference during the sessions. If it's going to happen,
I look so much shorter than you.
You are. If that's going to happen for me at a conference, that's going to happen afterwards, in the stillness of the night, in some quiet time in my hotel room, maybe over a cup of coffee, maybe in the hotel lobby, or taking a walk. That's where God is going to speak to me privately. That's where I'm going to be available to the Spirit, not in the middle of a session. And in fact, the way that I get most out of a session is to have every possible medium at my disposal. Now, my favorite really is pen and paper. I'm a little old school that way. But it just feels weird to have somebody say, you need to be fully present, and being fully present looks like this for you. Now, I don't think they mean to be controlling. Right. I just think it represents sort of a gap in their thinking that actually ends up achieving the exact opposite of what they really want, which is lots of kibitzing and idea sharing and generative ideologies, etc. So that part feels kind of weird.
I really have to commend you on how you just kept talking when I interrupted you. Mm-hmm. That was awesome.
I do a lot with you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start trying it with you. That's awesome.
It's not going to work with me.
King of interrupty pants over here.
Oh, yeah. Hey, pot, nice kettle.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's black.
Mm-hmm.
So is your heart.
But, yeah.
The things of God. John Wools. John Blackheart Wools. Blackheart the pirate.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so anyway. Yeah, I was getting weirded out when you were talking about being alone in your hotel room and drinking coffee and staying up late.
We're sharing a hotel room.
That's why it weirded me out. Yeah.
I just pretend like you're not
Especially since you were tickling my arm with your whiskers before we were doing this video.
Let's see. We have there's a couple of cool, really cool venues here that they've got different events at in Austin, so that feels really neat. Of course, the great strength of Q is it's kind of the Christianized version of the TED conference. So each presentation is only 18 minutes long, and I'm always impressed when people go under the time. We had several people who were only 15 or 16 minutes today, and that's cool. That feels neat.
Yeah.
One thing I wish they did have, though, and particularly in the beginning of the day, they didn't have many people who were very compelling orators. So because the conference is largely set up around short talks, it always feels to me, it felt last year and it feels this year, like they should make an effort to have people who are great speech givers, great orators, as opposed to people who just lead fascinating lives and do interesting things. They compensate for that a little bit by an interview format, but I don't know that it gets all the way there, and certainly it felt like the opening session was a little slow to get going instead of being a grabber and an energizer.
Right. With the exception of Alan Hirsch.
Yeah, but I did go to.
He's great.
I did go to get coffee during some of Alan's talk.
Right. I think because you were tired from the other ones that were happening around it.
Because I was being present. I was tired from being present.
You went to the coffee shop and twittered about your tiredness?
No, I left my phone with you. I figured you'd want to Twitter with both thumbs, or at least say something inappropriate and blame it on me.
Yeah. Awesome. All in all, Q is a great opportunity for us. We're getting a lot of ideas. We have a lot of great dialogue between the two of us. We've been able to visit some interesting spots, just getting in a new city and in a new culture. We went to Toy Joy, which is probably the best toy store I've ever been in.
But stupid stuff like that, even like toy stores, are great because they give us ideas of what we can do in fusion.
Yeah.
There's a one-to-one correlation, and not only with fusion, but also things with cosmology and satellites, or even church structure, or even different ways that we might bless the world, such as the Random Eggs of Kindness, which of course was a big hit. It's the stupid stuff that sometimes sparks fantastic ideas, and it's integrating real life with the gospel story and inviting the Spirit to give us new ideas. And ironically, most of our new ideas have come from Toy Joy Joy rather than Q, which is just a neat
which
benefit.
is fun.
Yeah,
which is fun.
It's very cool.
We really appreciate you guys investing in us and your belief in us, and giving us an opportunity to come over like this, our families especially, and but you, our church, West Winds, for sending us on to places like this. Because,
Say goodbye. We have 1 second.
Yeah. Thank you.